Talk a little bit about the idea of loft life and how it came about. One of the situations that we saw happening in sort of the early 2000s was the fact that developers had gone out and sort of gone on a hyper building spree. And when this happened, they started to build up infrastructure in a lot of America's cities like Atlanta, and Baltimore, and Denver, Portland, and Seattle. Amongst the urban core in the inner city, they started to build up places around where people were working already. I don't think that the developers necessarily had the foresight to understand that this was going to be a movement per se, but this was an excellent opportunity for them to sort of bring a little bit of what we call walking culture or city life into these cities in a way that you could only formerly get in places like New York when people think of neighborhoods like Soho. So one of the things that happened was, as we noticed this trend and the massive amount of building going on, we started to see that regardless of what was going to happen with real estate, whether real estate was still booming as it was in the early 2000s, or whether real estate started to tumble a little bit as it has sort of in the latter part of the decade, the point that's important is that the infrastructure was already built. So as prices rise or fall, be that what it may, the truth is that people are going to occupy and to a large extent have occupied this urban core. And because of that, loft life is given the ability to flourish and sort of develop what we call, again, walking culture, a neighborhood, a city vibe. And loft life, in its mission statement, is about people that live within four walls that touch other people's four walls. An acronym that we use in the office, MUD, M-U-D, multi-unit urban dwelling. One of the reasons I think multi-unit urban dwellings are important is because it's the big differentiator with loft life. It's the main reason that we're different than everybody else. It's really the market that we discovered. Where there are a lot of other great magazines that focus on some of the same things we do, some environmental focus, some sort of things that are happening in the local city, some sort of city newspaper that tries to talk about events and other things that are going on. The important thing for us are those three pieces. Multi-unit, I think that's important because where other great magazines are out covering, a corrugated steel, off-the-grid, sort of desert dwelling and a community that's flourished around that, or a lot of single-family homes that were designed by Frank Lloyd Wright or some other great designer, we all think that's very interesting, but it's not what we're about. We're about multi-unit, which essentially means that your walls touch somebody else's walls. It inherently means you have neighbors and you have neighborhoods, and that's what loft life's about. The life part is about what happens outside of those four walls. So while we're very concentrated on sort of the niche category of what happens with decor and how you live inside of those four walls, we also want to address each city's sort of situation outside of the four walls and what happens in the community, because at the heart of it, that's really what makes the difference between urban dwelling and sort of suburban dwelling in a very small space. It's not just about small spaces, it's also about urban dwelling. So the website, loftlifemag.com, is a website that we've put together over the last year and a few months that has really been able to go out and capture the imagination of loft dwellers throughout the globe. It's really been our ability our one vehicle to get out and reach the bigger global community outside of the areas that we're presently concentrated in. And on that website, there's opportunities for our advertisers to take part, provide part of the editorial content that we think is so vitally important. Both in the magazine and on the website, we see the advertiser relationship as actually being part of the editorial content, if you will. I like to think of some of the big high fashion magazines that people get where they might not consciously pick them off the newsstand and think, I'm buying this for the ads, but the truth is that the ads are almost as exciting as the articles, and sometimes more so. People want to see what's new, what brands are out there, what innovative designers are sort of bringing to the marketplace. So in that way, Loft Life and Loft Life Magazine and loftlifemag.com both bring that advertiser relationship to the forefront. And one of the things that we've done to really enhance that relationship has been the launch of our microsite, which is loftylifestyle.com. This is a great interactive piece that works with Flash technology. It's something that picks up on what our editors do each month in our wanted section. And each month what they do is they have a grid where they rank products based on their sort of shelf life and their cool factor. So you might have something like the Barcelona chair that I'm sitting in right now, and that would be very high on the cool factor and very long shelf life. In fact, you could go up to Midtown, up to MoMA, and you'd see just how long of a shelf life it has as you saw the original Mies van der Rohe chair. And so this grid is something that we have in the magazine each issue, and it's something that on loftylifestyle.com people can actually come and see new products, and they can interact with how the editors rate things. So they can go and they can drag around sort of their ratings and say, you know, I think this is cool, or I think this has a low shelf life, or I disagree with the editors. And furthermore, they can see how the editors voted and how their votes stack up against the editors. So it's a really, really cool interactive way for us to bring the sort of rest of that editorial mission into the fold and really bring our advertisers and our readership closer together, which is ultimately the goal of Loft Life. One of the great things about Loft Life magazine is that we run it with the entrepreneurial spirit of a couple of people in a garage that have come up with a great magazine idea. And frequently that happens in magazines when people do get good ideas and decide they want to launch one. But the great thing is that we're also well capitalized. We're owned by the same ownership group as Metro, the world's largest daily circulation newspaper, and actually the 9th largest newspaper in the country. A lot of people in North America aren't as familiar with Metro as Europe is. It's presently in 3 cities, New York, Boston, and Philadelphia. As well, out of our same Loft Life office, we run the Black Book, which is a 40-year-old business-to-business commercial publication that works primarily with photographers and illustrators and creatives of all type in cities like New York and Los Angeles, Miami, Chicago. So we are a firm that has sort of the best of both worlds. We both understand the printing and production process. We have a great creative team. We have a lot of players who have been around the industry for a long time, and at the same time we sort of have that entrepreneurial spirit of a brand new magazine just launching out of the gate. So we like to think that we have best of both worlds. I want to talk a little bit about what makes Loft Life different. I think it's important to understand that what we're not, out there trying to do is to create another Coca-Cola, another Pepsi-Cola. In our analogy, what we're really trying to do is go out and find a unique set of readers, people that have reinvigorated the urban lifestyle, and we're trying to bring them and marry them to a great market. And what we like to use is an analogy that we're more creating Dr. Pepper than we are Coke. It's not something that we're going to go head to head and say we're going to go out and cause the next great huge sensation. It's something that says, look, we're going to address the needs of a select group of consumers better than anybody else. So a lot of our readers have come to us and said, where have you been all of my Loft Life? And I get a great wide variety of people who have come up and said, I can't believe someone hasn't come up with this magazine concept before. We're really excited to have it. And we really are excited to bring it to people because we think that there are a lot of people out there, especially in the urban market, that are city dwellers that for far too long have had to kind of get by with sort of whatever publications sort of met their needs. Other things that are sort of around eco-culture or around walking culture or sort of around urban decor, but don't quite address their sort of smaller spaces or really what they could do with their loft environment. So we're hoping to go after subscribers that are really the people that are going to be most excited to find out that Loft Life suits their needs better than anything else, even if they didn't know they were looking for it. Let me tell you about our exciting board of experts. The board of experts at Loft Life are people with diverse backgrounds: restaurateurs, psychologists, interior decorators, condo stylists, urban planners, all sorts of people that are selected for each issue. We generally have 9 to 12 experts per issue. And what we do is we let them engage with the editorial staff. So after we create the issue for Loft Life, we go back to our board of experts and sort of let them have a first run at the content. We go back, we get great quotes from them, we get great insights, we get corrected sometimes where we're wrong, and we get the ability to really bring the reader something more than just the editor's opinion. We also have, experts from all over different industries being able to kind of weigh in on the subject, which we really think adds a lot to the editorial value of Loft Life magazine.